I was born to preach the gospel. I was born to preach the gospel. I was born to preach the gospel. And I sure do love my job. Yeah. I was born to preach the gospel. I was born to preach the gospel. I'm born to preach the gospel. And I sure do love my job. Yeah. Yes, I really love my job. I'm a disciple that makes disciples that makes disciples. Oh, I'm a disciple that makes disciples that makes disciples. I'm a disciple that makes disciples that makes disciples. Yes, I'm a disciple that makes disciples that makes disciples. I'm a disciple that makes disciples that makes disciples. I'm a disciple that makes disciples that makes disciples. Get firmly rooted. So let's get firmly rooted. Let's get firmly rooted. So let's get firmly rooted. Oh, I'm a disciple that makes disciples that makes disciples. I'm a disciple that makes disciples that makes disciples. I'm a disciple that makes disciples that makes disciples. Let's get firmly rooted. Firmly rooted. Let's get firmly rooted. Yeshua, 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 Yeshua. I'm a disciple that makes disciples that makes disciples. We're disciples that make disciples that make disciples. We are disciples that make disciples that make disciples. We are disciples that make disciples that make disciples. Let's get firmly rooted. Firmly rooted.
Good morning, everyone, and happy Wednesday morning. Pastor Tom Donnelly, Firmly Rooted Ministries, and we're strengthening our roots. Emily is in the house, Olivia's in the house, Jennifer's in the house, Abby's in the house, and I can see her right behind my screen. There she is. Okay. We're getting it done today. Emily did the Women's Flourish devotion from the computer here, and now having her coffee, which is good. Steve Drew, good morning. Vivian Davis, good morning. Bert Reggiani, I just saw you. There you are. Bert Reggiani, good morning. Diane Giroux, good morning. Anne Marie, good morning. Anne Marie Jankowski Bell, good morning. Roger down at Firmly Rooted Greendale, good morning. Jody Glenn, good morning. Great to have all of you. Others are popping in. All right. So yesterday we talked about the storm. So twice in this section that we're looking at right now, the second half of chapter 27, it's been 14 days. It has been 2 weeks. 2 weeks of not knowing when daylight is and when night is. 2 weeks of not knowing what direction you're moving in. 2 weeks of not seeing the stars and the planets that you use to navigate ships and sailing. 2 weeks battered by the storm, tying ropes around a boat to hold it together. And you say to yourself, God, if you wanted him to go to Rome, why are you making it so difficult? God, if you wanted me to do this, why are you making it so difficult? God, if this is the promise you gave to my life, why is getting there so difficult? Because he has a purpose. A purpose he hasn't told you yet. This is one of the things that I have for probably a couple decades wondered. We are so focused on ourselves that we see everything that happens in our lives as God loving us or not loving us, blessing us or not blessing us, punishing us or whatever. And one day I begged the question to myself, would God one day allow me to have cancer so that I would end up in a hospital because I witnessed to one person? Would he? Would he affect my life and my family's life? Would he affect all of that so that someone would come to know their eternal destiny? The answer is yes. You see, we make too much of the kingdom of this world. God doesn't care. He cares about an eternal kingdom. And I don't mean he doesn't care. I think we overcare. We think it's all about this. And so we try to keep the status quo going. We try to keep everything. If the train starts to go off the track, we're trying to rescue it back onto the track. We don't want any kid to go through anything. We don't want anybody to go anything. We don't want to go through any suffering. And if anything happens, God's doing something and he's not being faithful. And with the whole thing just falls apart. Would God allow one of his children to go through trials, tribulations, and suffering as part of advancing the kingdom? The answer is yes. The answer is yes. And tomorrow we're actually going to see what all this was about. Because this ship needed to break up and this ship needed to land at an island called Malta. Paul didn't even know. I mean, I guess he knew in his last vision that they were going to be shipwrecked and end up on an island, but he surely didn't know why. God didn't even tell Paul the whole story. Paul had to experience this. He had to experience these 14 days, watching these men wanting to jump ship, watching these men wanting to kill all the prisoners in case they got set free. I mean, all the crazy decisions that they're making. And Paul is trying to tell them to stay steady, stay focused. He even encourages them to eat finally. It says it's been 14 days and we've been in constant suspense. Can you imagine for 14 days being in the kind of suspense that they were in? Wondering if the next wave was going to kill them? Not knowing for 14 days which way was north, south, east, or west? That is mind-boggling. That is mind-ripping. They finally eat. And before you know it, they're seeing some daylight. And they're seeing land. And the boat's being driven out of control. It's being driven. And they're doing sound checks. And it's getting shallower and shallower and shallower. And finally they hit. The boat breaks up. They're all grabbing onto pieces of wood. I think somewhere it tells us there were 276 people on that ship. 276 people. God is using Paul to talk to 275 people. And now he's going to use Paul on this island of Malta. What if God doesn't always give us the whole story, but we got to trust that he's still good, and we got to trust that all of this has a divine purpose, that he didn't just wake up today and lose his mind and make us go through something. Part of a divine plan. So tomorrow we'll look at the plan. We'll look at the part we didn't know. But I also want you to contemplate chapters 23, 24, 25, 26, 27. Paul would tell you that nothing was happening the way that he thought it should. Have you ever had that time in life? Which no matter which direction you looked, it all was off. Nothing was working right. You're not alone. You're not alone. The mistake we'll make is when we say God's abandoned us and we're in this by ourselves. That's when the enemy will have a heyday. He's isolated us in the moment of suffering. We're not using God as our refuge and strength. We don't even believe he wants to be our refuge and strength. So Satan just beats the tar out of us in the middle of something. As opposed to, God is my refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. Therefore, I will not fear even if the earth should change, if the mountains fall into the heart of the sea. Do you hear what David's saying? If I wake up today and everything's upside down, I'm going to trust God's not, and I'm going to press into him. It's kind of like finding Jesus in the boat and finally waking him up. Because the bailing of the water is not helping, so maybe he might be able to do something. In the midst of the storm, stop bailing. Find Jesus. He just might let you know what's going on. All right, we'll leave it at that. Brian Vlaming, good morning. Nikki Chasen, good morning. Everybody have a great day. Make it a firmly rooted day. And may someone see Jesus in us today. Peace.